Hi everyone, welcome to the new season of Legal Treats. I'm your host, Eileen Ligutizan. I'm an attorney licensed here in the state of Texas and in the Philippines, and I'm here to simplify complex legal topics into easy to understand, bite-sized insights. So enjoy your legal treats in this episode.
For divorce and family law in Texas, Liggett Dizon Law Firm PC will guide you every step of the way.
From initial consultation to detailed review of your case and strategic planning.
We'll sit with you during negotiations or mediations and represent you in court.
Whether it is a family law, estate planning, or immigration, we will be there to guide through the final steps.
So, leave your legal matters behind you and embrace your future.
You can contact Liggett Dizon Law Firm PC at 346-5454-346 or visit dizonlawfirm.com.
Today we're diving deep into an important topic for anyone involved in immigration sponsorship. So I'm talking about the affidavit of support, its legal effect, and what it really means for sponsors and immigrants alike. So the question is, what is affidavit of support and where does it come from? The affidavit of support is a legal promise made by a sponsor, usually a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, agreeing to financially support an immigrant. Now, this promise is part of U.S. immigration law and is designed to prevent immigrants from becoming public charges reliant on government benefits. Now, the law that governs this promise is found primarily in two parts of the Immigration and Nationality Act, or we sometimes call it INA. So, INA Section 212A4 deals with the public charge as ground of inadmissibility. INA Section 213A specifically requires the affidavit of support. Alongside these statutory requirements, there are detailed federal regulations under immigration law that explain how the affidavit works and how it's enforced. Now, what is Form I-864? So you should be familiar with this if you have been filing an immigration petition or a petition for your spouse or a relative. So this Form I-864 is known as affidavit of support and must be completed when you file an application, especially if the person is filing for an adjustment of status. So you have to be familiar with I-864 if you have already applied a petition for a spouse or an immediate relative where you have to provide support. Of course, central to this process Form I-864 that I'm talking about, otherwise known as the support as affidavit of support form that sponsors must complete. Of course, this form isn't just paperwork. It's a legally binding contract between the sponsor and the federal government for the benefit, of course, of the immigrant. So by signing Form I-864, the sponsor pledges to maintain the immigrant at an income level not less than 125% of the federal poverty guidelines. Of course, this commitment lasts until one of some of the several conditions occurs, and these conditions are outlined, of course, under the law. First one is when the immigrant becomes a U.S. citizen. The second condition is the immigrant has worked 40 qualifying quarters under Social Security. And the other two options or situations are first when the immigrant dies or the immigrant leaves the U.S. permanently.
Pinoy Law Group, experienced Filipino attorneys providing clear, affordable legal guidance and determined representation in immigration, family, employment, and civil matters. We offer knowledgeable, compassionate legal counsel tailored to your needs. Find us at www.pinoylawgroup.com. Call Pinoy Law Group at 832-838-9393.
Let's talk about legal enforcement of this Form I-864, otherwise known as affidavit of support. Enforcement, we're talking about the contract itself. The question is, what happens if the sponsor fails to meet this financial obligation? You see, the affidavit of support is enforceable in any appropriate state or federal government can sue the sponsor for financial support to cover at least, what did we say, 125% of the poverty level. So what are the available remedies? First, one is payment for ongoing maintenance. Another one is legal fees and costs related to enforcement. And of course, other remedies under state contract laws. So you're going to look into the contract law of your state. It's important to understand that this is not just a moral promise. It's a legal obligation that can be enforced in court. It's a lawsuit if you didn't make your promise, if you didn't make true of your promise. Remember, this is a contract that if you do not follow it. So next question is, will divorce end that obligation? The answer is nope. Divorce does not end your obligation. So it's a contract that even if you have already separated, it will not end your obligation. One key point many people misunderstand is how divorce affects this obligation. So even if the sponsor and immigrant spouse divorce, the sponsor's duty under the affidavit of support continues. You can't skip that. You can't escape it. In fact, divorce can make things more complicated because it eliminates the option for spouses to combine Social Security with credits to end the obligation earlier. So nope. The answer to the question, will divorce end that obligation, is a no. Now, the other important details that I'd like you to think about in terms of affidavit of support is that sponsors can withdraw or disavow their affidavit of support only before an immigrant visa is issued or adjustment of status decision is made before the green card comes. Another one is that the Department of State's Foreign Affairs Manual also provides guidance on these requirements, of course, reinforcing their legal weight. Now, just want to share with you that the affidavit was created as part of immigration reform in 1996, primarily to ensure immigrants are financially supported and do not rely on public assistance. Yes, the other important details I'd like to share with you is that sponsors can withdraw or disavow their affidavit only, remember this, only before an immigrant visa is issued or adjustment of status decision is made before the green card comes. The Department of State's Foreign Affairs Manual also provides guidance on these requirements, reinforcing, of course, their legal weight. Now, the affidavit of support was actually created as part of immigration reform in 1996, primarily to ensure immigrants are financially supported and do not rely on public assistance.
For divorce and family law in Texas, Liggett Dizon Law Firm PC will guide you every step of the way.
From initial consultation to detailed review of your case and strategic planning.
We'll sit with you during negotiations or mediations, and represent you in court.
Whether it is a family law, estate planning, or immigration, we will be there to guide through the final steps.
So, leave your legal matters behind you and embrace your future.
You can contact Liggett Dizon Law Firm PC at 346-5454-346 or visit dizonlawfirm.com.
Okay, so here are my practical tips for the person who's sponsoring another person and the sponsored person. So if you are sponsoring someone, understand that signing Form I-864 creates a binding legal contract. So you should know your responsibilities and that your responsibilities last many years, even after divorce or separation. And be prepared that you could be sued if you fail to provide financial support. And you don't want that, so you need to know that. Consult, of course, definitely consult an attorney if you have questions about your obligations. Now, here's something for the immigrant relying on a sponsor. So if you're an immigrant relying on a sponsor, know that you have legal rights to enforce this affidavit of support as a contract. So you have to keep documentation of your sponsor's promises and any failures to provide support. And you must understand that your path to citizenship or crediting work orders can end this obligation. Thank you for tuning in to Legal Treats. I hope this episode gave you a clear understanding of the affidavit of support and why it is important in immigration cases. So if you have any questions or topics that you want us to discuss in Legal Treats, send me a message at eileen@legaltizon.esq, or you can simply send a message to Lawin Media Network Facebook page or YouTube channel. Legal Treats with Attorney Eileen is brought to you by Lawin Media Network in collaboration with Legal Tizon Law Firm PC. See you next time for more Legal Treats.